Okay, I'm going to try to keep this video from rambling on and on and on, but this is a pretty crucial video because we're introducing the final last art assignment. So you have until the end of the semester to write the two-body paragraphs. However, writing those two-body paragraphs will set you up for this in a huge way. So I would finish that first, but start thinking um, about what this article is. So in the opening of the semester, I had that questionnaire, and I asked some purposeful questions, and one of them was, um, "Did you ever write anything that made you think?" And almost everybody said no. And then I asked, "Is there anything for which you would argue or debate, something that you're passionate about?" And everybody had something. Now you're not married to whatever that thing is. However, it proves a point that you do have interests that you want to debate. Now, I'm going to be writing this assignment along with you. Um, not going into massive detail because that'll be, uh, you know, I'm only going to really post the stuff that's new, like basic an outline and discussing how I'm going to attack this argument or whatever. So here we go. First, we want to think about an area about which you are passionate. Okay. Um, I'm going to write about college football. I care a ton about college football, and I'm also going to write this in both MLA and APA format. You should choose APA or MLA depending on what it is that you want to study in college. If you are going to go into the more of the science stuff, and I'll help you figure out which one's right for you. But APA would be the way to go because that tends to be the style of writing um, for that area of study. MLA is more about the humanities, so um, literature, history, um, that kind of stuff. So it seems like there's a pretty massive gulf in there called business. Well, business depends. If it's going to be finance, that's more of a science than whatever. We don't or economics. We don't have to get into that right now. But anyway, the big thing is find something where you are passionate. Why? Because I want you to be like, I am very interested. I get to write a paper about this. Just talk to somebody at BGSU who's like, I get to write what I want. And I'm like, yeah, well, as long as it's appropriate. And he is going to write something that he's like, eyes open. He's like, man, I can't wait to write this. And it seems like it's not. And for him, I mean, it shocked him that it might not be an academic um, subject matter. It is. But more important, formulating your argument and coming up with a succinct plan is more important. So, next, we have to narrow that subject down to an argument that can be at least three different aspects. Now, don't think I have to think of those three aspects right now, but make it more complex than just a one issue argument. So, I'm going to write that mid-major conferences in Division One football should have their own playoff. Um, so MAC, the Bowling Green and Toledo's conference, Sun Belt, Conference USA, AAC, and Mountain West should all just they have 65 teams. They shouldn't just wait for the breadcrumbs of bowl games to come dripping down to them. they should they should have their own playoff. I can have three arguments about that without a problem. Um, so I don't have to decide what they are yet, but I can come up with three. I got that. So don't limit your. I mean, have something passionate that you want to write about, but you've got to also. Here's B. You also need to phrase the argument so there's ample room for a legitimate opposing perspective. So you can't argue against necessarily racism because that's too broad, and it's you have to have a legitimate argument on the other side, and you can't just go well. A typical racist would say, no, you can't do that. What you can do is say there's systemic, baked organizational racism within certain structures, in the United States. And that is something that somebody could say, no, there isn't. You can't, the what's in a man's heart or a woman's heart or whatever, you can't really, it's hard to discern that. But statistics can um, prove a point. So come up with an argument where there's a legitimate other side, because at some point you have to make their argument for them, which is very tricky. But once you get into that mental habit, you can write very persuasively. The last is, and this is really big, this might take some thought, some flexibility and patience. I really want to help you with this. This is what college instructors are supposed to do. Help you shape your, you know, the direction of what you're writing about. Any of those papers that you wrote about when you're doing research on the two-body paragraph, somebody somewhere helped that person find and define their scope of what they're writing about. And that's huge. I want to help. Otherwise, we can paint ourselves into a corner and have a bad topic. So that's what I was saying in the beginning of the year. Pick somebody that you're, a celebrity that you're going to find, somebody that you're interested in and that has some intriguing qualities to them, and that'll keep you researching. Next, open-minded research. Don't go into this researching thinking you know everything, because clearly everything's a lot more complicated. There's a lot of inside baseball and a lot of politics or whatever. There's lots of stuff inside that makes it complex and like healthcare. There's no simple answers to that. There may be better answers than what we have, but nothing is simple. Next, so research your topic with a perspective that is ready to include. You ready? Here we go. Other perspectives. Maybe there's more than two. That binary thought that we've been talking about, where things just devolve down into screaming match. Maybe there's a third perspective that's being ignored. That unknown complexity, where like I just mentioned, where maybe it's a whole lot more complicated than we think. And then this is big right here. There may be side issues that are extremely powerful to discuss and research and include in your argument. So you can widen your argument. There was one student who wanted to talk about inclusion in sports, like who gets automatically excluded from sports, that maybe the scope of who gets included in sports could be wider. They were talking about one specific sport, but if you added other sports and other folks that are being, not included in sports, now your argument is way wider and stronger, more powerful. And you could show some depth to it. So research that way. Next, ready? Here we go. Take notes that are within a more defined scope. So that more defined scope is, don't get distracted once you think you've got, be flexible. But once you go looking for something, if it's a worthy thing that you're talking about, there will be so much complexity. It'll be tough to, like, man, I'm finding something good here, but I may have to say no to this. So you need to at some point start an outline. Not really a tremendously detailed one, just your 1, 2, and 3. At least 3 things to talk about. I could talk about college football forever and bore people to tears, but I would have to I'm going to limit my argument down to 3 specific things about a specific brand of football that gets the short end of the stick a lot. So that's why I got to keep it kind of focused. I will not look at your notes. You can do notes however you want. However, I highly suggest that you take what we've been doing. And my template is not anything special. You can I would invite you to write your own. You see the elements that are in there. Have something where you preserve the source, copy paste in bold, put the parenthetical citation in there. That's the scriber. Write your 2 commentary sentences. Having this already done within the paper in your notes is so easy. I hope the 2-body paragraph thing showed you that having Scriber or EasyBib write as you go is so great. So Anyway, I really suggest you do it. But all I'm ever looking at as the assignment, just like the two body paragraph, is your final result. If you need help and you want me to look at things, absolutely I will. Absolutely. But you don't have to do this. This I'm already pretending it's you moved on to another class. You can write however you want. Um, I'm just going to tell you if we don't make room for these things, it's going to be trouble to write this paper because it's going to be fairly long. Okay, and start to categorize things in three sections. I said that up here. All right, 5 body paragraphs. Okay, I'm going to stop this video right now because I know these things get to be long, and we're going to walk through the 5 body paragraphs.